Pan Yinhu is the first A rank agent in ZenlessZoneZero who specifically buffs ruptured characters, and that's a big deal, especially for those of you planning to pull for Yinhu when version 2.0 drops. His kit also includes unique ways to boost rupture damage and apply a general damage increasing debuff to enemies, but what really sets him apart is that despite being an A rank, he brings both a damage buff and a healing ability, which is rare at this level. In today's video, we'll be breaking down Pan Yinhu's full kit, how he works, his best diss drives, W engines, ideal team compositions, and the materials you should start farming for now in order to get ready. But just as a quick reminder, all the info in today's video is based on the creator beta server, so keep that in mind as things may change. However, if today's video helped or if you learned something, like, comment, and subscribe. Without further ado though, let's get into it. Pan Yinhu is a physical type agent built for fast-paced aggressive combat, focusing on rapid special attack chains and strong damage buffs. His two main abilities, Mountainous Pulse Strike and Touch of Death, are the main focus of his entire kit. One buffs the sheer force of an ally and the other debuffs enemies, increasing the damage they take from all sources. Despite being complicated with how many skill descriptions he has though, Pan is very straightforward to use. Start by using his EX special to build up break force, and after a short delay you'll see a quick assist prompt, and with this you should then swap him out and he'll automatically trigger Touch of Death on the enemy, applying the damage boost even when you've already swapped off of him. That's literally the whole kit. If your team needs healing, Pan does also have you covered. When he uses his ultimate, he not only deals physical damage but also heals the entire team for 820 to 1060 HP, and also applies a healing over time effect that restores 1.4% HP per second for 8 seconds. In short, Pan Yinhu is a versatile A rank support who not only increases team damage but can also keep your squad alive, and this of course makes him a solid addition to any team composition, assuming that you have rupture of course. Now let's break down his kit, starting with his core passive. When Pan hits an enemy with Mountainous Pulse Strike, he triggers a quick assist. This is important because the next teammate who tags in using said quick assist gets a special boost called Meridian Flow. This gives them an increase to sheer force based on Pan's attack, with this scaling up to 540 and it lasting 25 seconds. Now as we'll see later, the scaling for Pan's attack is pretty important for his build and how you scale him, but we'll get into that more in the build section of today's video. If Pan is teamed up with a rupture agent or someone from his faction, his attacks mark enemies with depleted chi, making them take 20% more damage from everyone for 10 seconds, and of course this is perfect for increasing your total DPS. One thing that's interesting about this ability, however, is that in order for you to get the generalized team damage increase, you do still need to have a rupture agent on the team. So in case you were thinking of actually just trying to use Pan with more generalized DPS, do know that you will still have to take Yinhu at the start of 2.0, even if you're trying to use him to buff other general DPS. Pan's basic attack is pretty straightforward and deals physical damage, but it's honestly pretty underwhelming and generally not worth using in almost any situation. Pan's EX special is, however, his most important move. It hits forward with strong physical damage, gives him 3 break force points, and provides the previous teammate with a quick assist prompt. That teammate then receives the buff that we mentioned earlier, known as Meridian Flow, which of course adds sheer force based on Pan's attack, assuming of course he has 3000 attack in order to gain the maximum 540 points from this buff. That teammate then gets the buff that we mentioned earlier, known as Meridian Flow, which of course adds sheer force that scales based on Pan's attack. After Pan switches out, he stays on the field briefly to hit the enemy 3 more times using his break force, and if he's teamed up with a rupture agent or someone from his faction, this is where he activates the bonus that increases damage taken by the enemy for 12 seconds. Now the most important thing about this special attack is that line mentioned before, where he stays on the field to hit the enemy, as without it he'd have to specifically stay on field and use his special attack 3 times in order to activate this debuff. However, since it automatically lets him perform this even while he's quote-unquote swapped off or not on field, it's a pretty important part of his kit. To keep it simple though, just use Pan's EX special, then swap since he'll hit the enemy anyways, even when off field, and therefore apply the damage increasing debuff. In addition to this, because his EX special also activates a quick assist, it'll also grant sheer force in the same exact rotation, and really that's all it takes to get the most out of Pan. Now in terms of Pan's assist and dodge abilities, these are truthfully also pretty basic and not really noteworthy, since again, as we previously mentioned, he accomplishes most of what he wants to do just by using his EX special. Pan's chain attack is pretty much no different from the previous ability that we just mentioned, where it doesn't really offer any value to the team and is fairly underwhelming overall. As a side note, this will be an ability that most people will use chain attack canceling to avoid using, but again, that's not necessarily for everyone. Pan's ultimate is pretty unique because it lets him heal his teammates, which is rare in ZenlessZoneZero right now. Currently, the only game mode where healing really matters is the Endless Battle Tower. However, However, with the new Miasma mechanic coming in 2.0, managing your team's health might become more important since Miasma applies a team-wide damage effect. We'll have to wait and see exactly how much this will impact health management in the future, however, as currently there isn't much information about it. Something else to note is that Pan's ultimate is pretty quick, so a lot of people will use it to chain attack, cancel, or to combo with another character, and this is pretty good value should you need it, so just keep this in mind when you're trying to assess whether you should use it or not. Now, because Pan is a support with the simple kit, you can actually choose to ignore leveling most of his abilities, and with this, to just keep it simple, level his EX special, his ultimate, and anything else that you really choose, since again, really his ultimate, core, and skill are the only important parts of his supportive kit. Do with this information what you will though. Now that we've covered Pan's kit, let's talk combos and gameplay goals. Pan's gameplay goal is pretty straightforward. Just buff the team and get off as soon as possible. Pan's playstyle is equally as simple. His entire kit revolves around his EX special as earlier mentioned, which is all that you really need to understand. From set ability, the most important line here is of course the following, which says that after switching out, Pan will stay on the field and automatically launch special attack Touch of Death, and because of this, his only combo is EX special attack, quick assist, and swap. This sequence not only triggers a quick assist prompt, but also allows Pan to use Touch of Death from off field. Doing so again provides both the sheer force buff and the damage percent increase debuff against an enemy, and as I've mentioned multiple times in this video, yes, it really is just that easy. When it comes to W engine options, Pan doesn't really have too many choices, and as a result, his best W engine choices are Set's, his own, or Caesar's engines. However, the one that really stands out is Caesar's because of the extra damage that it provides to your team. Overall, calculations made with Pan are pretty difficult as not many W engines provide damage to the team at all or even contribute much to days. However, what's worth mentioning is that his own W engine's energy regeneration can actually be pretty helpful since he uses his EX special quite often. However, if you don't have any of these as options, it's perfectly fine to use any engine that offers energy regen or attack percent as main stats or passive stats. When choosing Pan's disc drives, a very important factor is hitting the attack threshold needed to fully maximize the Meridian flow effect. At 0 Mindscapes, this buff grants a sheer force increase equal to 18% of his attack, capped at 540, but at 6 Mindscapes, this cap increases to 720 and scales with 24% attack instead of 18. Because of this, it's important, however not absolutely game-shatteringly important, to equip sets that help him reach the 3000 attack cap in order to get the full sheer force bonus. With this in mind, Astral Voice stands out as one of his best sets due to its attack synergy and team buff, but if Astral Voice is already in use, alternatives like Protopunk or Swing Jazz can also work well. Now, since Pan's role in most teams is just focused on boosting team damage rather than impact like Caesar, he doesn't really need impact or impact focused sets, as he honestly gains more value from attack percent or energy regen as main stats, but consequently his best 2-piece set options are honestly Hormone Punk if you're below the attack threshold, or Swing Jazz if you just need more energy. Main stat wise, Pan can technically reach 3000 attack in a variety of ways if he has decent substat rolls, and one such way is having an attack percent main stat W engine and then having a few rolls of attack percent on your disk drives. That said, the minimum that I've seen is having at least one disk drive main stat being attack percent, with all others being some combination of crit rate, crit damage, and energy regen. Overall though, Pan really just appreciates having more energy regen while maximizing his sheer buff. As a result, my recommendation and the easiest way to build Pan is simply double attack percent with energy regen as his 6th slot. That said, his main stats and priority as a whole will change based on which sets you use, since each provides a different stat. However, in general, any combination of double attack percent plus energy regen, or getting fancy with something like crit rate plus attack plus energy regen can also be okay, but of course maxing out on attack percent in order to reach the sheer buff cap is what I really find to be the highest priority. Now let's move on to Pan's Mindscapes. Pan's first Mindscape gives a decent 10% damage boost against enemies affected by depleted chi, and despite this being a 10% damage boost, this really accounts for a few additional percent increase in DPS overall. Don't get baited by the 10% that's included here. That said, the additional damage is always valuable, especially when this can affect multiple agents, but I just wanted to make that disclaimer. Pan's second Mindscape lets him recover 4 energy and extends the duration of depleted chi to 12 seconds. This is a pretty nice change overall for quality of life's sake, but I also found that Pan having more energy is pretty nice as he uses his EX special pretty frequently during fights. His fourth Mindscape increases the healing and healing over time effect of his ultimate by 25%, but now while this by itself is decent value, it's also interesting to note that it also adds a nice little backup provisions buff that heals a decent amount one time when anyone in the squad takes a certain amount of damage. Pan's final Mindscape is easily his most important, however, for his role, as it increases the Meridian flow effect from core passive by an extra 6% of his attack. This in addition to the increase to the maximum shear force buff provided to 720 from 540, easily makes this the biggest jump in DPS that Pan can offer to the team. In addition to this is easily the noticeable difference in performance when it comes to DPS, and for transparency on the value of Mindscapes for Pan as a whole, my initial runs with him at M0 were almost 25% worse than when I had him at M6, so it's safe to say that the value here is pretty clear. Moving on to teams, let's talk about Pan's best partners and some findings summarized from my Pan Yinhu teams video. Now, since Pan's kit can really only work with Yixuan, the focus of this section will be the synergy between Pan Yinhu and Yixuan. From this, the two main types of partners / teams that are used with Pan are support teams and stun teams. There are some instances where I tested a second DPS and a double DPS team that you could use, but since they really didn't pan out nearly as well as these stun or support teams, we won't be focusing on them nearly as much in this case. With this, let's start with the support team. First off, the best team in this category is Yixuan, Pan, Astra. This, to absolutely no one's surprise for the 1000th time, is because of the amount of buffs provided by Astra and Pan's kits, and honestly also because you don't need either of these characters to stay on field for long to make the most of their kits. As a result, you can then get even more DPS out of Yixuan's special attacks and basics, and the only real downside to this team is just the following. First, Yixuan being paired with Astra means that you will be taking the best support in the game from your team, which honestly does feel bad when other teams like Evelyn, Lighter, Astra do feel like they need it more. Second, for a character like Pan, he does feel slightly more reliant on his 6 Mindscape being active if you want the best performance overall. And to this point, if his 6 Mindscape isn't active, Caesar and other supports normally perform anywhere between 2 and 8% faster or higher in score than him, but of course this is in regards to others, including limited supports. Now overall, both of these findings are more focused on Deadly Assault, and if you aren't using Pan in Deadly Assault, many of these concerns do feel less important, but since Deadly Assault is easily one of the more difficult content that they've released in the game as of late, I do believe that these concerns are something that you should think about before you use support teams. Now let's talk about Pan's stun team variation. To be clear, there are plenty of stun agents that are also viable in terms of clear speed and playstyle. The most reliable stun team, however, is clearly Yixuan Pan Trigger, because compared to all other teams, this lineup was clearing 13.5% quicker while also having a 12% higher score on average. Now this is of course mainly due to Trigger, as her off-field nature and buffs are insane, but what's even more impressive about this is that Trigger didn't even have her additional ability active when putting up these insane performances. Now in addition to this, Trigger does also put up 6% better scores and 10% faster clear times even compared to other support teams, but I did want to say that although Yixuan Pan Trigger is easily the best stun team, the other options for stun teams like Pulchra in this case were honestly pretty strong as well, but only really had slightly slower clear times as their major disadvantage. Now on a final note, the double DPS option for Pan was honestly pretty uncomfortable and also low scoring. This was again very likely due to a lack of additional abilities being active on the second DPS in most cases, but as always, if you really want to play Yixuan, Miyabi, and Panda, by all means feel free to do so. At the end of this, however, we still have to answer the most important question of all. Is Pan worth pulling for? Well, truthfully, again, this answer is not very straightforward. Pulling Pan in Zenless comes with pros and cons, with some being less obvious than others. On one hand, he's one of the best synergy units for Yixuan at 2.0's release, buffing and providing her with some of her highest DPS ceiling currently. Additionally, in stun or support compositions with agents like Trigger or Astra, Pan enables fast clears and high scores, particularly when he has his 6th Mindscape unlocked. However, the main cons in this is of course his limited team flexibility, where he honestly does need Yixuan to function well, but to add to this, if he doesn't have a 6th Mindscape, the performance that he has definitely falls closer to, if not almost behind, other supports that Yixuan normally has access to. With all this, the TLDR is that if you're not committed to running Yixuan or already have strong supports, Pan might not really feel good to play at all. That said, Pan is on Yixuan's banner, so there is a high chance of pulling him anyway, even if you weren't intending on it, but of course this means that Yixuan is an even more important factor to consider if you're considering pulling or building Pan. That's going to be it for today's video though, guys. Thanks again for watching. Hope you learned or enjoyed today's video. Make sure to check out the rest of my socials if you haven't, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Stay safe, stay healthy. Good night.